Hello, this is Mrs. Ward, and I'm going to go over the 10.1 to 10.4 review worksheet. One thing I do want to point out is that the answer key online, the printed version, may have different spacing, but all the questions are the same. It's just in a slightly different order on the piece of paper. Sorry about that. All right, number one, find the inclination in radians and degrees of the line. So the first thing you're going to do to find the inclination line is I have to find the slope. So to find the slope, I'm going to put in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to say 3y is equal to negative x minus 7. Divide everything by 3. So negative 1/3 x minus 7/3. I just really need this slope. So my slope is equal to negative 1/3. To find the line, I'm going to do the inverse tangent of that slope. I'm going to do the inverse tangent of negative 1/3. That's going to give me my angle. I'm going to put that in my calculator, and you guys should know how to do this in your calculator. If I do the inverse tangent, again, my thing is going to go a little crazy. 1 divided by 3. I'm going to get that. That's in radians. We're going to round to 3 decimal points. So I'm going to say theta is equal to a 0.-322, and then in degrees, when I change that to degrees, that ends up being a negative 18.43 degrees. The problem is that the inclination of the line, remember when we talked about it, it has to be this positive angle, so it has to be between 0 and 180. Both these were given to me down here in the fourth quadrant, so I'm going to add half the circle, so I'm going to add pi to this one, and when I add pi, I get my angle to be 2.82 radians. And here, when I add 180 degrees, I get 161.57 degrees. If I got a positive angle, like positive radian, positive degree, I just leave it alone because that's what I want. So I'm happy. All right, moving on to the next one. Find the equation of the tangent line to the parabola at the given point. So they give me the equation of the parabola, and I know that it's going to -1, and it's going to do something like this. And if you're not sure, you can graph it. And then I have the point -2, -2. Oh, whoopsie, didn't see the slope, didn't see the coefficient was negative. My bad. Try that again. The coefficient's negative. Everyone should understand that the vertex is -1, 0, and that means we're a lot better at that now that we've done parabolas. So when it opens down, so it's going to go something like this. And then at -2, so -2, -2, I have this point, and I have the tangent line. And I'm trying to write the equation of the tangent line. So just to refresh you, everything's going to happen on this axis of symmetry. And so what I need to do is I need to find the focus, because the distance from this point to the focus, whatever that is going to be the same as the distance from this focus to the place where the axis of symmetry crosses that tangent line. Those two are the same. So the first thing I have to do is find my focus. Remember, the x squared is on one side by itself, so I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 1 squared is equal to, divide both sides by -2, so this will be -1/2 y. So then when I think of my equation, this is like x minus h squared is equal to 4p y minus k. This 4p is equal to this -1/2. I'm going to say 4p is equal to -1/2, which means p is equal to -1/8. That is the distance between my vertex and my focus, which means my focus is going to be the x coordinate is going to have to stay that -1, and now my focus is going to be 1/8 of a unit away, so -1/8. Then this point here was -2, -2. So now I'm going to find out how long this line is by doing the distance formula. So I'm going to take -2 minus the -1 squared plus -2 minus the -1/8 squared. And when I do all that, I end up getting 17 eighths, which is 2 1/8, if you want to think of it that way. So this distance is 2 1/8, which means this distance is 2 1/8, which means that this point here is still going to have that x-coordinate -1. Now I'm going to go up 2 1/8. Well, this is the 1/8, so this has to be 2. So now I have 2 points. I have the point -2 on that tangent line, and -1, 2, because that's the point I just found. Now I'm going to write the equation that goes through that line. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. So I'm going to do the difference of the y's, so -2 minus 2 over the difference of the x is -2 minus -1. And I'm going to get -4 over -1, so my slope is 4. Reality check. The tangent line does go up, so I was expecting a positive slope. Now I am going to put it in point slope form. So I'm going to use this point here. So I'm going to say y minus -2, so y plus 2 is equal to my slope, and then x minus -2, so x plus 2. So this would be y plus 2 is equal to 4x plus 8. So y is equal to 4x plus 6. And that is the equation of my tangent line. Moving on to the next one, find the vertex, focus, and directrix of the parabola. So again, when I write this, I want the y squared on one side by itself with a coefficient of 1. So I'm just going to bring this over here. So I have 4x is equal to y squared. If you want to write it as y squared is equal to 4x, you can, because that's the format that we were given, is the x squared was on one side by itself on the left. Here, I can see that I'm not subtracting anything from my x, not subtracting anything from my y, so my vertex is going to be 0, 0, so I'm going to plot that there. Then I know that the y is squared, so it's going to be open to the left or the right. Since the 4 is positive, I know it's going to open to the right, so I know it's going to do something like this. To find my foci, I am going to take, remember this is what's equal to 4p, so 4p is equal to 4, which means p is equal to 1. The focus is inside the parabola, so the focus has to be here. That order pair for the focus is going to be 1, 0. And then the last thing I have to do is find the directrix. Remember, the directrix is the same distance away as this focus, except for it goes in the opposite direction. So it's going to be here. And it's going to be an equation of a line that does not cut through that parabola. So that directrix is going to be in the form of an equation of a line, which is going to be x is equal to -1. And so there I have my vertex, my vertex, my focus, and my directrix. Okay, find the standard form of the equation of the parabola with the given information. So I'm just going to do a rough sketch. So my vertex is 2, 5. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my focus is 2, -8. Wow. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's way down here. So in order for this to work, my parabola has to do something like this. So I know that the x is squared. So I'm going to have x minus the x coordinate of my vertex squared is equal to 4p. Don't know what my p is right now. And then y minus 2. Remember this minus 5. That's my h and my k. Okay. Now to find p, it's the distance between this 5 and this -8, which is going to be 13. And since it's opening down, I'm going to make that a -13. So this will be x minus 2 squared is equal to -52 times y minus 5. Okay, the next one. A church window is bounded by a parabola. Write the equation of the parabola. How tall is the window at a point 2 feet from the center? So if I have this drawing, I get to put my vertex wherever I want. So if I make it, so let's say I do this, and I make it so the vertex is at 0, 0. So I'm going to vertex at 0, 0. And that should make my life slightly easier. If I do that, then if I have these points here, like this, it's telling me from here to here is 8 feet. So from halfway over is going to be 4. So this right there is going to be 4. And then since this is 0 and I drop down 4, this is going to be negative 4. So I've identified one point, and now I'm going to go. So since I'm in the vertex 0, 0, the x is what's squared because it opens down, 4p, and then y minus 0. I didn't have to do that. So x squared is equal to 4py. And I have no information to help me find p, so I'm going to choose to substitute this ordered pair in for my x and my y. So when I do that, I'm going to say x, which is 4, so 4 squared is equal to 4p, and y is negative 4. So I'm going to have 16 is equal to negative 16p, so p is equal to negative 1. So going back here, or here, whatever I want to do, I'm going to put negative 1 in for that p, so 4 times negative 1 y. So my equation is x squared is equal to negative 4y. So that's my equation. That answers the first part. Then it says, how tall is the window? So how tall means I'm looking for y. Is the window at a point 2 feet from the center? So I can either go 2 feet this way or 2 feet this way. It doesn't really matter. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because I'm going to square it. So let's just say I said 2. So 2 squared is equal to negative 4y. So I'm going to have 4 is equal to negative 4y. So negative 1 is equal to y. So it's going to be 1 foot down. It's going to be 1 foot down from here. So it's going to be 3 feet tall. Because the vertex is 4 feet, so it's 1 less than that. Okay, the next one. Find the center, vertices, and foci, and eccentricity of the ellipse sketches graph. So since I'm not subtracting anything from the x for the center, it's going to be 0. Since I'm not subtracting anything from the y, it's 0. So that's my center, 0, 0. Then when I look at it, the largest number is the 16, so that becomes my a squared. So my major vertice, if 16 is equal to a squared, that means a is equal to 4. That goes with the y coordinate, so I'm going to take this 0 and then 0 plus or minus 4. I'm actually going to do that. This is 0, 4, and 0, negative 4. Those are my major vertices. So 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are my major vertices. My minor vertices, I might as well do them. My b squared is equal to 4, so b is equal to 2. It goes with the x, so I'm going to add and subtract 2 to the x coordinate. So my minor vertices are going to be that 0 plus or minus 2, and then the y coordinate stays the same, so it's going to be 2, 0, and negative 2, 0. So 1, 2, 1, 2. That's my ellipse. And now it wants the foci, I believe. It does want the foci. Foci means I need to find my c. So to find my c squared from the ellipse is a squared minus b squared. So c squared is going to equal 16 minus 4. So c squared is going to equal 12. Take the square root, and c ends up equaling 2 times the square root of 3. So to find my foci, I'm going to add that to the one that has the a, so I'm going to add it to the y. So that's going to be 0 plus or minus 2 squared to 3. I cannot simplify that, so I can leave that the way it is. If I wanted, well, it's asking me to sketch, I feel like I should. So 2 times the square root of 3. I'm just getting a decimal approximation for graphing, so 3.5-ish. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 and a half. There's a foci. 1, 2, 3 and a half. There's another foci. Notice if you tried to put them on the other side, you'd be outside the ellipse, and that wouldn't make sense. Moving on to the next one. I'm still doing the same thing. So my center is going to be whatever I'm subtracting from my x, which is 4, whatever I'm subtracting from my y, which is a negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to move this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So there's my center. Then when I go and I look, I have 6 and 9. Well, the largest number will be 9, so my a squared is going to equal 9, which means my a is going to equal 3. That's going to go with my y again, so the x coordinate will stay the same. And then I'm going to take this -4 and I'm going to add and subtract that 3. So 4 and then -4 plus 3 will be -1. 4 and -3 minus 3 will be -7. So I'm going to plot those there. There's my major. Then to find my minor, my b squared is going to equal 6, which means b is going to equal the square root of 6. A decimal approximation for graphing purposes is about 2.5. So but when I go to write my minor vertices, I'm just going to write 4 plus or minus the square root of 6, and then leave the -4 alone. The graph is about 2.5, 2.5. Oops, in the wrong place. 2.5, 2.5. And then my ellipse will go something like this. That looks close to a circle. To find my foci, I'm going to say c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. So c squared is equal to 3. So c is equal to the square root of 3. So to find my foci, my x coordinate is going to stay the same. My y coordinate is going to be that -4 plus or minus the square root of 3. And did I write it? No, I did not write it. No. It's about 1.7. So 1.7. There's my foci. Okay, number 7, find the standard form of the equation of the ellipse. Find the center, vertices, foci, and eccentricity. Oh, didn't do eccentricity. Eccentricity is equal to c over a. So in this case, it's going to be the square root of 3 over a, which is 3. Just leave it like that. Okay, so when I have one like this written in the general form, I'm going to put my x's together, my y's together. Anything that doesn't have an x or a y is going to go over the other side by itself. So I'm going to have 4x squared plus 16x plus 25y squared minus 150y is equal to -141. Now I'm going to factor out whatever this number is here. So I'm going to factor out a 4 and make this x squared plus 4x, and then I leave a space for when I complete the square. Here I'm going to factor out 25, so y squared minus 6, I believe, plus, and then is equal to -141. Now I have to complete the square, so this 4 stays the same. I'm going to take x, this is a plus sign, so I copy down that plus sign. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. I'm not really adding 4, I'm adding 4 times 4, so I'm adding 16 to this side, which means I'm going to add 16 over here. We're going to do this y. I'm going to do 25 y. This is a minus sign, so I'm copying down the minus sign. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 25 is 225. I'm going to add 225. And when I add all those, it ends up being 100. I'm going to divide everything by whatever number I get over here. So I'm dividing by 100. And it works out very nicely. So we have x plus 2 squared over 25 plus y minus 3 squared over 4 is equal to 1. So here we go. My center is going to be -2, +3. My a squared is going to be 25, which means my a is going to be 5. So to find my major vertices, I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to take that -2 and add or subtract 5, 3. And the reason why I'm adding it to the x coordinate is because the x is what had the a. So when I do that, I'm going to have -2 plus 5, so that'll be 3, 3, and then -7. sketch those. And do the minor vertices, because I have to graph them, so I might as well do them. I'm going to leave the x coordinate alone, so I'm going to leave that -2 alone. And then I'm going to take the y coordinate, which is 3, and add or subtract. Well, b squared is 4, which means b is equal to 2. So I'm going to have -2, 5, and -2, 1. Is my set others? So here's my ellipse. Define my foci. I need to find my c. So c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. So c squared is equal to 21. So c is equal to the square root of 21. So my foci is going to be my x coordinate plus or minus my foci, and it's happening on the x because that's where my major axis is. And I don't know what the square root of 21 is, and I didn't write it down. I'm at 4.5-ish. There's my foci. So let me go up here and make sure. So I've been center foci, eccentricity, and I've sketched it. So eccentricity is my c over my a. So the square root of 21 over my a, which is 5. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, for question B, we're doing the same thing. We're putting the x's together, the y's together. Anything that doesn't have an x or a y is going to go over to one side by itself. Then I'm going to factor out this 16 from the x's, so x squared minus 2x, leaving that space for when I complete the square. Factoring out this 9. It's 8, right? Now I'm going to complete the square, so when I complete the square, I'm going to do x. This is a minus sign, so I'm copying down the minus sign. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1, but I'm really adding 16 times 1, so I'm really adding 16. When I do the other one, the y, I'm doing y. This is a plus sign, so I'm copying down that plus sign. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. I'm putting a 16 here. I'm really adding 9 times 16, which is 144. So when I add those all up, I get 144. Divide everything by that 144. And I'm going to end up with x minus 1 squared over 9 plus y plus 4 squared over 16 is equal to 1. So going very quickly, the center is going to be 1, -4. The major vertice is going to be based off this 16, so 4. So it's going to be 1, -4 plus 4 is 0. 1, -4 minus 4 is -8. The minor is going to be based off this 9, which is 3. The square root is 3. So 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 minus 3 is -2. So those are my major vertices and my minor vertices and my center. So I'm going to plot those all right now. 1, 4. This is going to go something like that. And then to find my foci, I'm going to do c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. So c squared is equal to 7. So c is equal to the square root of 7. So my foci is going to be 1 and then -4 plus or minus the square root of 7. Since I cannot simplify that, I can just go ahead and leave that. Square root of 7, ballpark, is 2.6. So I'm going to add 2.6. 2.6. Go to my foci. Eccentricity is going to be C, which is the square root of 7 over A, which is 4. And I think I've done it all. All right, number 8. Find the standard equation form of the ellipse with the given information. So I like doing a rough sketch. So if my vertices are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my vertices, which means my center has to be at 0, 0. And my A, because the foci is 4 and 4. So my A has to be 5. That's the distance from the center to my vertice. So my A is 5. My C is the distance from my center to my foci, so my C is 4. So I can start with x squared over a squared, which is 25, plus y squared over some number b is going to equal 1. To find that b, I'm going to say c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. So c is 4, so 16, whoopsie. So 16 is equal to 25 minus b squared. So then b squared is equal to 9. B is equal to 3. I don't even have to find b. I could have just left it as 9, and I get that 9 right there, because I need b squared. And that's all I had to do for that one. Again, drawing the picture is key. B, my vertices are 2, 0, and then 2, 4. So I know my center has to be halfway between those. So the x coordinate is going to be 2, and then halfway between 0 and 4 is 2. So my center is 2, 2. If my center is 2, 2, that means the A, the distance from my vertice to my center, is also 2. My foci is 2, 1 and 2, 3. So my C is the distance between my center and my foci, so that's 1. So I'm going to start off as x minus 2 squared over some number, don't know it yet, plus y minus 2 squared over my a squared, which is going to be 4, is equal to 1. Then to find my b squared, I'm going to say c squared, which is 1, is equal to my a squared, which is 4 minus b squared. So b squared is equal to 3, and I can just put a 3 here and call it a day. Okay, moving on. Identify the vertices, foci, and asymptotes of each. So now I'm into a hyperbola. So if I'm looking at this hyperbola, this is understood to be over 1. My center is whatever. Now I have to pay attention to what's being subtracted from the x and what's being subtracted from the y, because it's not automatically going to be x first, y second. So what I'm subtracting from my x is going to be -1. What I'm subtracting from my y is going to be -2. So my center is -1, -2. So there's my center. My vertices, and I only have one set of vertices, are going to be with the y, because the y is the positive 1. And this is my a squared is going to be whatever's with the positive 1. So my a squared is going to be 1, which means my a is 1. So I'm going to go over here to my center, and I'm going to add 1 to the -2 and subtract 1 to find my vertices. So I'm going to have -1, -1, and -1, -3. So here I'm going to go up on these, and I'm going to make these dots big because those are my vertices. Then if I identify the vertices, the foci, let's do the foci while we're here. The foci is going to be c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So c squared is equal to 1 plus 16, because remember the b squared is at 16. So c squared is equal to 17, which means c is equal to the square root of 17. So my foci is going to be, and I'm going to add that to the y because that's where my major axis is, my only axis. Is going to be -1 and then -2 plus or minus the square root of 17. And that ends up being like 4 or something. So 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. 4-ish. Okay, now to draw the branches of my hyperbola, I have to make a box. So I'm going to go here, and b squared is equal to 16, which means b is equal to 4. So I'm going to go left and right 4. So 1, 2, 3, nice little tiny dots. And now I'm going to highlight my box. So remember, what I'm using to make my box is my A and my B. Then to draw the lines where my asymptotes are going to be, I'm going to go from corner of the box to corner of the box through the center, doing my best to make it as straight as possible. You guys have a calculator that you can use as a straight edge, I guess. Let's do this one, corner. So there I have my asymptotes for my branches. Now when I go to sketch my branches, remember these are my vertices, so I'm going to use those vertices and approach the asymptotes. And so my graph is going to look something like that. Does it want the equations to the asymptote? And the asymptote, it does. So to write the equations of the asymptote, I'm going to say y is equal to my k, while my k is -2. Plus or minus, in order to do my slope, in this case, it's going to be rise over run. Well, my rise in this case is my A, and then my run is B. But in looking from the graph, I see that it's 1/4. And then x minus my k, so x plus 1. And that's going to be the equation for my asymptotes. Okay, moving on to the next one. So this one, I'm doing the same thing, except for I have to put it in the, right now it's in general form, I have to put it in standard form. So I'm going to put all my x's together, all my y's together. Anything that doesn't have an x or y is going to go over to the other side. I don't have to factor anything out here, so I'm just going to write x minus 2x plus something. Put that in parentheses. Here I'm going to factor out -9. So when I factor out -9, this will be a y squared. This, since I'm factoring -9, will change this side, so this will be a plus. 4y, and then this is always a plus, some number is equal to that. Now when I complete the square, I'm going to take x, this is a minus sign, half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. I'm technically multiplying by 1, so I really am adding 1s. It's 1. And here's a minus. And then I'm going to have y. This is a plus sign. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So then when I take -9, because it's -9 times 4, I'm really adding a -36. So this is minus 36. And when I add those all up, I believe I get 9. I do. Now I'm going to divide everything by 9. So when I do that, I'm going to have x minus 1 squared over 9 minus y plus 2 squared over 1 is equal to 1. Okay, the x is the one that's positive, so that means this is going to be my a squared is going to be 9, which means a is going to be equal to 3. Whoops, I forgot to tell you my center. My center is going to be 1, -2. So 1, -2. My A is 3. So I'm to do my vertices, and I only have one set. I'm going to add that 3 to my x coordinate and leave my y coordinate alone. So I'm going to have 1. I'm going to have 4, -2, and -2, -2. Those are my major vertices. It's bigger. Let's see the foci. While I'm here to find my foci, I'm going to say c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So c squared is equal to 10. C is equal to the square root of 10. So my foci is going to be my x-coordinate, which is 1, plus or minus the square root of 10, all over, -2. So that's like 3 point something, so something, whoopsie. Okay, now to draw my boxes, my b squared is 1, which means b is equal to 1. So to draw my boxes, I put these two tiny little dots here by my center. Then I get out my highlighter. I draw my boxes. So many dots. And we go I go corner to corner through the center. Corner to corner through the center. And then when I go to draw my branches, I do it based on my vertices and I approach those asymptotes. To write the equation, I'm still going to start the same way. I'm going to do y is equal to my k, while my k is the -2, and plus or minus my slope. So looking at this, my slope is, my rise was 1, my run was 3. I don't know why that won't go away. So this will be 1/3, and then x minus my x squared. So that is the equation of my asymptotes. So again, I look at the graph to figure out the slope because it's rise over run. So in this case, it's that 1/3. If you want to memorize the A over B or B over A or look on your formula sheet, you can do that. Okay. Last one before I take a little break. All right, so this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my x's together, my y's together, and anything that doesn't have an x or y, I'm going to put on the other side by itself. I think what I'm going to do, it doesn't really matter what I do, but let's say I leave the negative, let's say I put this over here, but I put the x in front. So here we go. I'm going to do -232 is equal to x squared, because that's the one that's positive, minus 8x, because I just subtracted the other side, minus y squared plus 6y. Then I'm going to complete the square. So when I do that, I have this -232. X, I can't factor anything else. I'm going to do x squared minus 8x plus something. Here I'm going to factor out this negative sign. So when I do that, this will be y squared minus 6y and then plus something. Then I'm going to complete the square. So I'm going to do half of 8. So this will be x minus 4. 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to add 1 times 16. So I'm going to add 16 to this side, which means I'm going to add 16 over here. And then here's that minus sign. Y, that's a minus. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to add a -9 here, so -9. So when I do all this, I get a -225 is equal to x minus 4 squared minus y minus 3 squared. So I'm going to divide by this -225. I'm kind of glad I did this. So I'm going to divide by -225. So when I divide, this will become a +1, but now I'm taking a positive divided by a negative, so this will become a negative x minus 4 squared over 225. I'm going to write it like that. Then this negative and this negative will become a positive, and then I'll have y minus 3 squared over 225. So just to write it in the format that we're used to, the y is what's positive, so I'm going to put that first. The x is negative, so I'm going to put that second. And then this is equal to 1. So then my center is going to be, then from here it's easy breezy, right? 4, 3. The square root of 225, I believe, is 15. do it. Why do I ever doubt myself? All right, so my center is 4, 3. This is definitely not going to fit on this piece of paper. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to go up and down. So my vertice is going to be add, subtract 15 to the x, no, the y coordinate, so 4 stays the same, then the 3 plus or minus 15. So that's going to be 4, 18, and 4, negative 12. And so those are my major vertices. To find my foci, I'm going to say c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So that c squared is going to equal 450. And when I c would equal, so here, let's practice this. Square root of 450 is probably going to give you a decimal. I don't know what it's going to do. It's going to give you a decimal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 450. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do menu, number, factor, 450. And I see that it has 2 2s, I'm sorry, 2 3s and 2 5s. So when I do this, I can 2 2, 2 3s, 2 5s, and not the 2. So this is going to be 15 times the square root of 2. So my foci is going to be, my x coordinate stays the same, so it's going to be 4, and then 3 plus or minus the square root of 15. So to draw this, I'm going to have a box that goes up 15, a box that goes down 15, over 15, over 15, draw it, and then it's going to go something like this. But now let's talk about the asymptotes. My asymptote is going to be y is equal to the k from my center. Well, the k from my center is 3, plus or minus. And then this one's kind of nice because the square root of this, it's going to be this, the a over the b. The square root of 225 is going to be 15 over 15 times x minus 4. So this is going to be y is equal to 3 plus or minus. That's going to end up being 1, x minus 4. And I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, moving on to the next one. Use the information provided to write a standard form of a hyperbola. So when I do this, my vertices are negative 1, 10. So negative 1, 10, something up here. And negative 1, negative 6. So my y is going to be the one that's positive. My center is going to be halfway between those two. So my center is going to be, the x point stays the same, and then negative 1, 2. So negative 1, 2 is going to be my center. The distance between that 2 and the 10, or between the 2 and the negative 6, is going to be 8. So my a is going to be 8. So we just said the y is coming first. So y minus 2 squared over a squared, which is 64, minus x plus 1 squared over b squared. I'll write this quickly now. It's equal to 1. They give me the asymptotes. My asymptote is 4/7. So remember, when I go to draw this, we just said the branches were opening up and down. When I make my boxes, this is going to be my A. Well, we just said my A was 8. And then this is going to be my B. So my rise is going to be 8. So my rise is going to be 8 over my B, which is going to be my run. That has to equal my slope, which is 4/7. So I'm going to multiply. So we get 56 is equal to 4b. Divide both sides by 4. By 4. And I'm going to get 16 is equal to b. So then b squared would be 16 squared, which is 196. So then that's what I'm going to put here is 196. All right, and then the last one. Oh, do I have time? Do I have time? You and your friend live 4 miles apart. You hear a clap of thunder of lightning from 18 seconds before your friend hears. Oops, not finished. I'll finish later. Hold, please.
Carolina Crow. Please go to room 132. Carolina Crow.
Okay, the last one says you and a friend live 4 miles apart. So I'm going to set up a hyperbola to represent this problem. If I live 4 miles apart, well, I'm just going to read the whole problem. You and a friend live 4 miles apart. You hear a clap of thunder from lightning at 18 seconds before your friend hears it. Where did the lightning occur? Assume that the sound travels at 1,100 feet per second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this 4 miles to feet. So just so you remember, there's 5,280 feet is equal to 1 mile. So if I have 4 miles, I'm going to take 4 times that 5,280. And when I do that, I get I don't know if I get this.
Andrew Weaven, please go to room 236. Andrew Weaven, 236.
Why am I thinking so hard? 4 times 5,280. So 21120. So they live that many feet apart. So if I do this, I'm going to set up my hyperbola. I am going to put me here, my friend here. If we're 4 miles apart, that means we're each, this is going to be 2 miles, and this will be 2 miles. That'll give me the total of 4 miles. And then, so in feet, this is going to be half of that. So this is going to be 1,560 feet. So I know that these are going to be my foci, which, newsflash, on the answer key I have them drawn as the vertices. They are not the vertices, my bad. So right now I can start this, since I have the x's first, I can start with x squared over a squared, which I'll get to in a second, minus y squared over b squared is equal to 1. So I know that the distance from my center to my foci is at 1,056. So that c is going to be 1,000 or 10,560. That's going to be my c. Then remember we talked about, like, if I hear an explosion, so let's say the clap of thunder was here. So let's say the clap of thunder was there. I hear it, and then 18 seconds later, my friend hears it. So this is D2 because it's longer. This would be D1. So the difference between when we hear it is going to be that 18 seconds. Well, 18 seconds is, for each second, that's 1,100 feet.
What's up, guys? I'm Josh Grambo.
Oh my gosh, hold on.
And we're your leaders.
And welcome to Cairo.
We're very excited to have you. Hope you have amazing years.
So remember, this D2 minus D1 is 2A. So 2A is going to equal that 18 times 1,100. So 2A is going to equal 19,800, which means 1A is going to equal 9,900. So this is going to be 9,900 squared. Then to find B squared, I'm going to say C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. So C, remember, is 10,560 plus 9 is equal to 9,900 squared plus B squared. So when I do that, I'm going to take 10, well, I might as well just do it. So I did that so I could put that here, because I'm going to need it eventually. So I'm going to do x squared, and then that 9,900 is going to be 9,801. And then y squared. And then here I'm going to take 10,000. So I'm going to take this squared, c squared, minus this, and then take the square root of that. Oh, you know what? I didn't need to take the square root because I don't need to know b. I do need to know that b squared. So that was wasted work. So I am going to put that under my. So the difference between this one and the one that you had for homework is it's just asking me to find the equation. I cannot find out where the lightning occurred because I don't have that third point that would tell me where to look. So that's it. I hope this helps, and I will see you next time in class.